Namaskar, this is Tulja Bhavani. I welcome you all to my online classes in law, especially to the wing of business law. Dear viewers, this is a course which is designed specifically for the BCom students online having 6 credits, BCOC 133. Dear viewers, today we are going to learn about the discharge of contract and its various models. Whenever a contract is made, it has to come to an end. So, the contract coming to an end is called as discharge of contract. So, the parties to the contract are relieved or extinguished from their rights and obligation of performing the contract is called as discharge of contract. In simple terms, the contract getting closed is called as discharge of contract. Here the parties are relieved from their contractual obligation. A contract gets terminated by 2 ways. Discharge of contract means termination of a contract. A contract gets terminated by 2 ways. One is in the positive sense and another one is in the negative sense. So, in case of positive termination of a contract, both the parties to the contract have performed their contractual obligation. The contract has come to an end in a positive way. Here, in case of negative discharge or negative termination of a contract, either of the party has failed to perform their contractual obligation. If they fail to perform their contractual obligation, the aggrieved party has a right to file a case and see that the contract is performed, and sometimes the contract cannot be performed due to impossibility of event, etc. Then in this case the contract is getting discharged in a negative aspect. I can give you one live example here. Let us assume that you people join the college with the intention of getting graduation certificate. So, 3 years you are going to study in the college and at the end you are going to leave the college with your graduation certificate and transfer certificate. You have entered into contract with the college authorities saying that 3 years you are going to come to the college and pursue your graduation here. So, this contract has come to an end in a positive way where a student leaves the college at the end of his graduation, completion of his graduation along with the marks memo as well as with the transfer certificate. On the other hand, in case of negative termination, let us assume that due to some reason you could not attend the college and you are being given TC by your college principal. Here also your contract with the college has come to an end, but it has come to an end in a negative way. Your name is struck off from the list of the college and you are no more the student of the college because you are leaving the college only with the transfer certificate but not with the degree marks memo and convocation certificate. Now, what are the various modes of discharge of a contract? What are the different ways in which the contract can be discharged? Dear viewers, the contract can be discharged in 6 different modes. First one is performance of contractual obligation. The first one is performance of contractual obligation. The second one is impossibility of performance. Third one is mutual agreement. Fourth one is breach of contract. Fifth one lapse of time, and sixth one by the operation of law. Now let us discuss about all these points in a brief manner. Discharge by performance of contractual obligation. Dear viewers, in this case both the parties to the contract will perform their contractual obligation. So how this contractual obligation is categorized based on their performance? It is categorized into 4 types. First one is by actual performance. Here both the parties to the contract have come forward and performed their part of duty. So when they performed their part of duty, the contract has come to an end. Here in the picture you can find that a man is speaking with a woman and giving him a shake hand. They have entered into some contract, a commercial contract, and both the parties to the contract have performed their obligation. Now the second one is attempted performance. Attempted performance means where one party is ready to perform their contractual obligation but the other party is not accepting the performance. It means what? Let us assume that I have ordered for a pizza from the bakery and the bakery person is coming to my home with the delivery, but I asked him not to come to my home because I am busy right now. When I told the other person that I am busy right now, the other person is relieved from contractual obligation. He need not perform the contract again, क्योंकि जब वो व्यक्ति अपना परफॉर्मेंस करने के लिए आगे आया तब मैंने उसको आने से मना कर दिया. Now he is relieved from contractual obligation. The contract is discharged. I am not going to claim the amount back because I am at fault. I am busy. I asked him not to perform. He was ready to perform, but I asked him not to perform the contractual obligation. Third one, performance by joint promisors. Performance by joint promisors means what? Let us assume that Z has given, as I told you, that Z has given loan to 4 different peoples, A, B, C and D. So it is the duty of 4 these peoples individually as well as jointly to repay the loan to Mr. Z. So let us assume that 4 of these parties have started together from their home to repay the amount, but unfortunately their car has met with an accident. When their car has met with an accident, on the spot A has died. Now it becomes the duty of the remaining party to clear off the loan of Mr. Z. B, C and D, 3 of them are liable to pay the amount to Mr. Z. Now B has also expired. He was in ventilation, he also expired. Now it is the duty of C and D to perform the contract. C also expired. Now it is the duty of the last person to perform the contract. D has also expired. Now it is the duty of the legal representatives of D to perform the contractual obligation. Then fourth one is appropriation of payment. Appropriation of payment. The word appropriation means adjustment. So whatever amount you are due to the other party, you have to tell the other party when you are making the payment which loan you want to clear. Let us assume that I have taken a loan from Mr. Ram at 4 different intervals of time. Let us assume in January I have taken 10,000, in February I have taken 8,000, in March I have taken 6,000 and in April I have taken 4,000. Now I have only 2,000 rupees with me and I am going to give this 2,000 rupees to Mr. Ram under appropriation of payment. So I have to tell him clearly that which loan I want to clear off first. मेरे पास सिर्फ 2,000 रुपये हैं और मुझे राम को ये बताना होगा कि इन 4 लोन में से वो पहले कौन से लोन में ये 2000 को एडजस्ट करेंगे। पहला लोन जो 10,000 का था, दूसरा जो 8,000 वाला था, तीसरा जो 6,000 का था और चौथा जो है जो वो 4,000 का था। सो आई हैव टू स्पेसिफिकली टेल हिम टू विच लोन दिस अमाउंट हैज़ टू बी एडजस्टेड। लेट अस assume I am asking him to adjust my 2,000 rupees loan to the last one, 2,000 rupees amount to the fourth loan, which was of 4,000 rupees. So if I tell him, he will adjust. If I don't tell him, so out of this 4 loans he can adjust it to any loan. This was about the discharge of performance of a contract through the discharge of performance of contractual obligation. Now let us discuss about discharge by impossibility of performance, that is doctrine of frustration. So dear viewers, impossibility of performance, when I have entered into contract, my contract was having all the 11 essential elements of a valid contract, but due to some reason, due to some events or due to the law in practice, the possibility of a performance has become impossible. So this impossibility existing at the time of formation is categorized into 2 types. One is impossibility existing at the time of performance of a contract, and impossibility existing after the performance of a contract. So impossibility existing at the time of performance of a contract is categorized into 2 types. Impossibility known to the parties and impossibility unknown to the parties, not known to the parties. So impossibility known to the parties, what are that? Agreement to, what is that impossibility known to the parties? Any agreement which is made to put life into the dead body is impossible act. Can you imagine that? Does anyone in this world has the power to put life in the dead body of a person? Everybody knows that soul once gone is gone. Nobody can put back the soul. Nobody can put life in the dead body. So performance of this kind of act is impossible. Next is join 2 parallel lines. It is impossible to join 2 parallel lines. 2 parallel lines cannot become one. It is very difficult for the sky to come and join with the earth. धरती और आकाश कभी एक हो नहीं सकते. It is impossible to join the earth as well as the sky. Then to bring moon and stars onto the earth. Dear viewers, is it possible for anyone to bring the moon and stars to the earth? So bringing moon and stars to the earth is also an impossible act which cannot be done by anybody. Artificial moon and artificial star you can bring, but the natural satellite which is there in the solar system, bringing that onto the earth is an impossible act, and this is known to everyone. Then to conquer the entire world, is it possible for an individual to conquer the entire world? Nobody can conquer the entire world. So these are the impossibilities which are known to the parties. Now what are the impossibilities which are unknown to the parties? So A entered, let me give you an example. A entered into a contract with B to supply paddy yet to be cut from the field. It means what? A has entered into contract with B. A has made a contract to B that he is going to supply the paddy to him in the future days, which is yet to be कट. इट मीन्स पैडी की फसल होगी या नहीं होगी ये मुझे भी पता नहीं है, लेकिन मैंने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बी के साथ किया है कि मैं तुमको, यदि मेरे खेत में पैडी उगता है तो मैं आपको फ्यूचर में पैडी सप्लाई करूँगा. A could not make the supply as the field was caught by fire. यहाँ पर क्या हो गया, फील्ड को जो है, खेत को जो है फायर एक्सीडेंट हो गया है. नाउ ए इज नॉट इन ए पोजिशन टू सप्लाई द गुड्स. इन माई अर्लियर क्लासेस आई हैव गिवन यू द एग्जाम्पल saying that Mr. A has approached a bank to obtain a loan of 5 crore rupees. The bank has put a condition that bank is going to give the loan provided if Mr. A puts some goods as security. Now the arrival of goods is depends upon the climatic condition in the sea. If the goods reach safely, then the loan will be given, otherwise the loan will not be given. Unfortunately, impossibility is unknown. Mr. A also don't know whether his goods will reach properly or not. So impossibility is unknown to the parties. So unfortunately, due to cyclone, the entire ship has sunk into the water. Now on the other hand, we have impossibility existing after the formation of contract. We discussed about impossibility existing at the time of formation of the contract. Now let us discuss about impossibility existing after the formation of contract. It is from destruction of the subject matter. On what basis we entered the contract, on what subject matter we have entered the contract, but on the day of performance of the contract or before the day of performance of the contract, the subject matter has destroyed completely. I made a promise to Mr. Ram. Yes, Mr. Ram, I am going to give you my car provided if you give me 10 lakh rupees. The day when I was about to give him the car, one day before, the car has unfortunately met with an accident, and luckily the driver was saved, but the car was destroyed. Here the subject matter of the contract is car, which is destroyed and it is not existing. So death or incapacity of either of the parties. Impossibility existing after formation. When the contract was entered, the parties to the contract were competent. Later, due to some incident, the parties are not in a position, they are incompetent. It means the person has died or he has become mad. Now he is not in a position to perform the contractual obligation. The third one is where the contract involves personal skills of either of the party. Impossibility existing after formation of contract we were discussing about. So here the impossibility where the contract involves personal skills. So let us assume that the marriage of I will give you an example. Let us take that there are two friends, Ram and Shyam. Shyam is getting married and Mr. Ram wants to put one ghazal show at the time of reception of Mr. Shyam. So he has invited a very popular ghazal singer, but unfortunately the ghazal singer on the day of performance of the contract is suffering from throat infection and he cannot sing. When he cannot sing, the discharge or the performance of contract is not at all possible. Let us assume I am invited here to deliver a lecture. So on the day of delivering the lecture, let us assume that I am suffering from a running nose problem or I am having throat infection. I cannot speak before the camera. So here my contract with the university comes to an end because possibility of performance is impossible. Other than me, nobody can come and give lecture on my behalf on the similar day. If this impossibility is informed in advance, some other option would have been arranged, but on the day of performance it cannot be done. Then by act of legislation, if the law gives any judgment, if the parliament makes any law saying that this cannot be implemented, means it cannot be implemented, the contract comes to an end. Let us assume that drinking of alcohol is allowed throughout India and it is not allowed in some XYZ place. It is a pilgrimage, drinking of wine is not allowed. So, you are not supposed to go and sell your alcohol there. If you have made a promise to somebody, your promise will come to an end, it gets discharged. Now, discharged by mutual agreement. Mutual agreement means what? In order to make a contract, there must be offer as well as acceptance. Here also both the parties will come together and will see that the contract gets discharged. First one is novation, doctrine of novation. Novation means substitution of new contract in place of old contract. I will give you an example. Let us assume that I have taken a loan from the bank and purchased the car, and every month 20,000 installment I am paying. For 1 year I have paid the installment, and later due to my financial position, or let us assume I have got transferred to some other place, I am not in a position to take my vehicle along with me. Then I called one of my friend. I said that I have already entered a contract with the bank and I have taken loan and purchased the car. Now I am not in a position to take the car to my place of work. Instead of me, will you use this car and will you pay the remaining installments to the bank? My friend has agreed. So, here a new contract has come into existence, that is called as novation in place of the old contract. Then comes remission. Remission means it is a liberty which is given by one party to the other party, which is given by the promisor to the promisee for performing their contract. I am giving you an option. I am relieving you from your contractual obligation either fully or partly. Let us assume I have given loan to Mr. Ram for 15,000 rupees at an interest rate of 10%. So, what I am telling to Ram, you need not pay me the interest, you pay me the actual amount of 15,000. This is called as remission. Then comes accord and satisfaction. Accord means what? Whatever comes to me, I get satisfied with that. So, as I told you that you are not supposed to pay me the actual interest, but you can pay me my amount, whatever amount you have given, in that only I am getting satisfied. Whatever I am getting, I am totally satisfied to that. Then comes breach of contract. Breach means what? Breaking of contract is called as breach of contract, where either of the party to the contract have broken their contractual obligation, have not performed their contractual obligation. Breach of contract, non-performance of contractual obligation by either of the parties without a lawful excuse is called as breach of contract. So, breach of contract is categorized into two types, where actual breach of contract and anticipatory breach of contract. Actual breach of contract. Actual breach means what? First thing, non-performance of contractual obligation by either of the party on the day or during its performance. Means when the party is supposed to perform their contractual obligation, they are not performing their contractual obligation on the day of performance or before the day of performance. Then the affected party. So, when this breach of contract is made, the affected party has a right to sue the other party for the damages. The other party can reject the contract, and sue the other party to claim the damages. The aggrieved party need not perform their contractual obligation. So, when breach of contract has taken place, the aggrieved party need not perform their contractual obligation. Then comes anticipatory breach of contract. Anticipate means to estimate in advance. So, breach of contract में क्या होता है? The parties to the contract declares their intention of non-performance before the due date or before its performance. The parties are not interested to perform their contractual obligation. I have been called by my friend. But I told to my friend in advance that the weather condition in my area is not good and kindly excuse me for this time. I cannot come to you and I cannot implement my contractual obligation. Then the affected party can reject the contract and again can sue for damages. Whichever party is affected can reject the contract and sue for damages. Discharge by, next is discharge by lapse of time. A contract gets discharged due to lack of time. For any performance, a specific period is given to you. You are supposed to implement your contractual obligation within the specified period of time. Let us assume first one, a specified time for performance will be given by the Law of Limitation Act 1973. So, if the promiser fails to perform and the promisee fails to take action against it within a specified period of time, the contract gets discharged. Then the promisee can't seek any remedy through the law. In simple terms, the contract is discharged due to lack of time. I have given you the example saying that somebody has taken loan from me. It is my duty to frequently ask that person to repay the loan. I have forgotten and he has forgotten. So, under time-based debt, after 3 years, I cannot recover my amount. Then discharge by operation of law. A contract gets discharged by operation of law like death of a person or merger of a contract, then judgment given by the court, alteration made, insolvency or bankruptcy. So, here discharge by operation of law. If a person dies and if he does not have any legal obligation, the contract comes to an end. If a smaller contract gets merged with the major contract, the smaller contract is discharged from performance. Then if the court gives a judgment that a particular contract need not be performed, then also the contract gets discharged. I have given you an example of wines which are prohibited in the pilgrimages. Here, if somebody has made a contract to a person of supplying the wine in that area, he is not supposed to perform now because the court has given an order that bringing of wine is prohibited in this area. And if you make any alteration to the original contract, the original contract gets closed there and a new contract comes into existence. It is called as novation, where a new contract is replaced in place of old contract. Then insolvency and bankruptcy. If the other party is not in a position to perform their contractual obligation as they have become insolvent, bankrupt, यदि अगली पार्टी ने दिवाला निकाला है, so they are relieved from their contractual obligation and the contract comes to an end. So, dear viewers, in our today's class, we have studied about performance and various modes of, we have studied about discharge of contract and various modes of discharge of contract. Discharge of contract can be made in two ways, in a positive way and in negative way, and there are 6 types of discharge mode of contract, that is performance of contractual obligation, impossibility of performance, mutual agreement, breach of contract, lapse of time and operation of law. So, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. This is Tulja Bhavani signing off. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.